Cyberpunk Uncensored.
Hey, we're live. Everyone can see us now. Let me make sure
Hi, everybody.
hopefully
Hey,
And welcome
All right,
to the GM Roundtable on Cyberpunk Uncensored. It's been a little
Hey.
bit of a while since we've been here, but we are back once again now that we have the inimitable Rob back from his many adventures.
Hey.
And as always, we're here to chat all things Cyberpunk GMing related. And we are going to kick off with introducing ourselves because we have a rather special guest from our Talsorian here. Welcome, James Hutt, and also we've got a brand new GM to the table. Welcome, GM Brando. But you can tell us a little bit about yourselves after we roll initiative to see who gets to go first.
Everybody roll their 10.
Got a whole 3.
I got a
9.
1.
Oh no, Rob.
9.
Nice.
We both got 9s. We have to roll off.
Oh, it's definitely a roll off.
It's a roll
Alright,
off.
Yeah.
Here we
Yeah,
go.
do it.
Who's got the higher agility bonus?
I got a 2.
Oh, I got another 9.
Damn. Brandon,
Yes.
Yeah, I
You're
gotta use
brand
this
new.
more
Why
often.
don't you tell us what you're doing here?
All right, well, I'm Brandon Perkins, and I have done a whole bunch of work with RealmSmith, doing 5e, Dungeons & Dragons 5e stuff. I've GM'd for them, and I have also been a player in many, many, many of their streams. But yeah, you can find me at DM_Brando, and I'm really excited to talk about the topic here today because that's pretty much how I have run so many, 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 many games.
Fantastic, thank you. And James, why don't you tell us who you are? What's going
everybody.
on with you?
I'm James Hutt. I'm a game designer at Talsorian Games. I work on the Cyberpunk and Witcher lines. You might know me as the mayor of Balancetown. And we're putting out a lot of free DLCs on rtalsoriangames.com. You should definitely go read those. We wrote them so that you could read them.
And put them
Get
out
'em.
for free.
Put them out for free. Go get them. There.
Awesome.
Finish the stream first.
Yeah. You can open a second window.
Yeah.
Please.
Open a new tab.
Anyway, that's the
I'm-
opening pitch. That's all I got.
That's it. That's it. It's pretty
That's it.
short
That's
and to the
me.
point. Lovely,
That's what I'm
lovely. So I'm Phil. I am from Babybeard Media. You can see me playing weekly with these two tubers over here, playing some weekly Cyberpunk gameplay over on Sirenscape, where I've run a game myself. I also make a ttrpg podcast with my fellows at Babybeard Media. That's called Roll to Cast, and we do a different game every season on that. So I ran the 2020 and Cyberpunk Red seasons, which were absolutely tons of fun. Me and Rob have been the mainstays of the GM roundtable, so I'm happy to be back at it, Rob.
Yeah, me too. Totally. And I'm Rob Mulligan. I'm the founder of Cyberpunk Uncensored. Go to cyberpunkuncensored.com. You can see everything that we put out there. Just a bunch of GMs doing live gameplay every week, multiples of that. I run multiple series like Night City Live, The Deep Dive, GM Roundtable. So much stuff going on. I also, like Phil mentioned, we do the Cyberpunk Red for Sirenscape, which is also an official sponsor of Cyberpunk Uncensored. Shout out to Sirenscape. And then also on all these live streams, I have a certain tier on Patreon to give the supporters a shout out. I just want to take a moment to do that because it's the reason we get to keep doing all this stuff. It keeps the creative juices flowing, keeps the promos going, all that good stuff. So shout out to William Huddleston, Naomi Madlass, Anino Gaming, Leaded Coffee, Michael Edmonds, aka Kira, Chris Anderson, Dolan Pondsmith, Pondsmith. She's also an artist. She has her own private channel on the Cyberpunk Uncensored Discord. Go show her some love. Steve Barr from Sirenscape. What's up? Matt James, who's also GM Reservoir Panda, who streams live with us. He'll be streaming live right after the GM Roundtable, so stick around and you'll see some of his gameplay, and then he goes again Sunday. Revolver Gray, Samurai Mac, George or Jorge, I'm not sure how he wants me to pronounce that, I apologize, and Zach, who's also Capricious Nature, leads up our Scream Sheet project and all kinds of stuff. And just like RTG, we have a bunch of free assets on our site. If you go there, you'll see just so much free stuff from the community, like auto-fillable character sheets and data shards and campaign builders and GM report cards, just so much stuff. Check it out. That being said, let's get into the topic today. We kind of call this section "What in the World Building," and today's topic is, let me bring it up, gaming with no
I
prep.
haven't prepared.
Oh no. Well then, perfect. That's perfect, because it's all about gaming with no prep. And if you're a GM, usually you get to plan ahead. You get to map out your campaign, how you plan it to go, all the potential tangents it might go on. You'll build your NPCs, your rewards, your repercussions. You'll kind of like lay it all out and then dive in, and things will still go off rail, and you'll still have to deal with some things, but at least you prepped and stuff. Sometimes you jump into a game last minute. Maybe it's a one shot you decided to do for fun, or just some friends show up, or maybe you had no time to prep, when you usually would prep, but then other things came up, and before you know it, you're like, oh crap, I'm playing like in a couple hours or tomorrow, and like, so that's what this is about. This is about gaming with no prep. So let's all roll initiative, and then we'll go around and give our GM tips about gaming with no prep. Hey, I got
7.
I got a 10 this time.
2 and a 3.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Nice. I'm all 1s and 10s today, it seems. That's great. Just like when we played the Sirenscape gameplay yesterday, I was like rolling crit fails or crit successes. It was crazy.
It was intense.
Yeah. So for me, anytime I have to game with no prep, the first thing I do is I refer to my quick campaign builder. I recently put this together, well, I guess a handful of months ago, maybe. I don't know. I guess semi-recent. But it's free. It's on the Cyberpunk Uncensored website. I'll put the link in the chat. If somebody wants to use it, open it, bookmark it, go get it later. Don't leave the stream. Stay here. Stick with us. But I will put the link there so you have it for later. But basically, this quick campaign builder is a PDF that you roll on the tables. And did that link go through? Well, let me know if the link goes through. Anybody in chat can let me know, please. But
There it is.
Awesome. All right, cool. Yeah, you basically open this up, and it has a chart that you start off with that gives you the main plot idea. You'll see when you go and check it out. It lays out either a person, place, or thing. Then you have a separate chart for complications that might be into that main plot. Then, whether it's a person, place, or thing, you go to the following chart of people, places, things. You roll on those charts and then those complications and such. It basically gives you a backbone, and I've used it numerous times because I run multiple streams. I run my marketing company, my Amazon store for some products I do, other partnerships I'm doing, my filmmaking, my music. I have so much going on. Sometimes I just don't have time to prep. So I bust out my campaign builder. I roll on the charts. It gives me my basic outline, my backbone or whatever, the skeletal structure to my campaign. And then I just fill in the little bells and whistles, give it flavor. Like if it's about a person, place, or thing, I decide, what that person is like, or if they work for a certain corporation, or if that thing is a weapon, an item, something from here or there. And I'll make those decisions based on what the other charts have recommended. And you'll see when you check out that quick campaign builder what I'm talking about. But that's what I recommend first and foremost, is just a quick roll on the chart, breaks the ice, gives you the basic idea for your campaign, and then you just got to fill in some of the little details. And the main thing I use for details is I'll make my, like I said, I'll pull places and things from lore, from the book, basic things, give it, some flavor. But when it comes to NPCs and such, I fall back on RTG. They already have, a bunch, and I print these out. You can even see I have my notes, even my water stains and things, because they're well used. But I print them out. They have all NPCs all the way from like bodyguard through security operative up to outrider, pyro, cyber psycho. Then I have street scum, booster, private security, because I've pulled from Jumpstart as well as the official red. And then I've made a few of my own, my little levels of combat number, whether it's a 10, 12, or 14, then I'll add my D10 to. If it's going to be, an average person, well trained or very trained. But again, I refer to these for the most part. You can change the titles to whatever you want them to be. It doesn't have to be a booster ganger or a security operative. You're just using those to give you a basic idea of, the level of skills of that person, the caliber of that NPC or encounter. But I love it because, props to James and RTG and everybody there. They filled it out with equipment, weapons, things they might have. I mean, you got your stats, your combat number. It's ready to go. So those are the main things that I use for gaming with no prep. I'll use the campaign builder. I'll fill it with just basic bells and whistles of lore that have it give it flavor, and then I'll rely on these NPC sheets and encounter sheets to fill any gaps and details that I might need.
No, hardened lieutenants now. Add those to your sheets.
Oh yeah. No, I've got. I didn't print those out yet, but I've got them digitally. All the new stuff, the new assets. And again, like James mentioned, everybody needs to go to the RTG site and just, download all that free content as well. And I'm going to put all the links in the description when we rock the VOD. So anybody watching this, check out the description and you'll be able to, get to all the different GMs, links and goodies and stuff.
I was going to ask James, so what's your strategy or your intention with taking those, both the standard mooks and lieutenants and the hardened mooks and lieutenants? What's the kind of formula for just like throwing a challenge at a party?
The answer is, the reason why I'm not using a formula is because I'm doing it by hand. Every single one of those is handmade and tested against hardened parties. Because there wasn't a direct formula, for example, all skills are created equal. Having a powerful weapon skill is a lot different in a combat situation than having a higher contortion, for example. So we couldn't just say increase all stats by that or increase all skills by this, or the minimum skill should be this, because there's the combination of some skills is greater than the sum of its parts. So we just said, screw it, we'll do the hard work, and I hand built it.
It's appreciated, man.
How many
formula?
How many of
If you
your
look for a formula, you might just discover how you want to do it yourself. So I also think that's a worthy quest. So don't not go on the quest. Just know the answer is the friends you met along the way.
The way I tend to kind of use what I was sort of asking about is like, how do you know how many to sort of pick and throw up against people? I tend to do sort of an escalation where I'll chuck some peeps at my party. If they easily defeat them, well, the next bunch of choombas are harder,
Oh yeah.
I agree. You should toe dip at the beginning to see if you're hurt. See if they. So in hardened lieutenants, there's a checklist that will prove if your party is hardened or not. If it isn't, there are some, hey, wait, you should slow down. You might kill a player. But if they're all hardened, you can do 1-to-1 substitutions. A hardened lieutenant is worth a lieutenant. It's just that easy.
Oh, yeah. And I think
but if they're not hardened, or if one of them isn't, then you will kill the bard. I basically go out and say that bard will die.
Yeah. And I think when I look at that too, like Phil, what you said about gauging the the encounters or whatever, I think there's like a game pacing and then there's an overall campaign pacing when it comes to like not just timing of events taking place, but a pacing of the caliber of those encounters. And what I mean by that is I feel that you can kind of, it's not too much meta gaming, I guess, but you can kind of look at, okay, well, the team is well rested, everybody has full HP, they're well loaded, it might be time for a meteor encounter, or they're a little bit beat up. Let me just mess with them a little bit because it makes sense to the world. You want everything to be realistic so it's immersive, but you might back off a little bit because of the situation. And that to me is overall pacing, not just within game. But I always take that into mind as well. Like, unless testing it, I love the testing idea too. You can do your first encounter and then see, how the team handles it, gauge it by that.
One of the things I've found from my parties is like, even if people are socially built characters, everybody expects to fight. So people tend to have good stats in some form of fighting.
Yeah.
Whether it's, hey, I took a bunch of archery because I want my guy to use a crossbow or a bow, despite being, you know, a med tech or something. People expect to get down and dirty, so you can throw pretty meaty combat even at you know, less hardened parties, because people know that it's dangerous.
Oh yeah, it's Night
On
City, it's
2020.
Cyberpunk.
2020, everybody wanted to play a solo. Solo was the most popular character class by far, and that sort of pushed combat difficulties up even higher, to the point where if you weren't playing a solo, you're not long for the world. But in Red, everybody can fight, and the question, so it becomes a lot harder to determine who is hardened or not. There is a chart in Hardened Lieutenants on the second page that will solve the answer to that question. So let me check that out, and that gives the hard answer. But any solo is automatically considered hardened because of their class ability. They're just so good. Their roll ability.
Yeah.
I'm playing one for the first time at the moment, and I'm having a blast.
Happy for it. Whose turn was it? I feel like we
Phil.
got.
Yeah, Phil, go ahead. Take.
Yeah, I think it's my turn.
It's technically your turn.
I'll grow off of Rob. The other thing, so the thing I think that I didn't already mention from what Rob's already said is, you know, this table of plot kind of sparks. I think it's really good because it can be very difficult to just choose from every possible plot, right? So having a little bit of guidance, having something to hang your ideas off can just really remove that stress, which is really great. And, you know, apart from this plot, there's also, you know, scream sheets out there. There's, you know, plots of your favorite sci-fi movie or cyberpunk movie, especially if you're just doing a one shot, just borrow and steal. It's fine. You know, your players probably want to play Blade Runner at some point, you know, something. Go find an AI that's hiding amongst people or something. You can definitely do that. Just kind of borrow and steal. But what I wanted to say, and I think builds quite nicely off this, is how to get players invested in something that you've just made up on the spot very quickly, is to keep it personal. So this is the thing that I like to do, is sort of drag from the kind of theater and writing world. Is like, sure, if you've got like a scenario where you have to like defend the block from a booster gang or defend the block from some corpos, like in the Jumpstart kit, say, make it personal. Don't just be like, some chooms want help. Maybe it's your mum or your lover or your little brother's in the gang, right, who's threatening the block. Just add a personal tie in there, and as many as you can, and then suddenly you've got this, oh, I've got no prep to, well, the players are really invested in whatever's happening because they know that it means something important to their characters. You know, if they need to if it's a robbery or they need to gain something, they need to gain something because their life's in danger. You know, they're in debt to someone bad, or someone they love is in debt to someone bad. So for me, you just get those hooks into people real fast by making it personal, making it immediate to the characters, even if they've just been made up on the spot. Grab something in their backstory. Backstories are like life paths, as RTG have made them, are real like little gifts to the GM, and you can go straight to those and just grab something from there to torture your players with, because that will instant investment. I think, you know, put something of theirs on the line, threaten something of theirs, and you've instantly got higher stakes. And I think that can just really just drag people in straight away. And it's such a simple thing to do. You don't need to, I need to, you know, plot out something to do with that. Just find a way to link whatever plot skeleton you have to the personal world of the characters. that's my kind of tip in terms of writing. So it doesn't matter what kind of campaign you do, whether it's social or fighting or whatever, make it personal.
Yeah, I love that. Like you said, it guarantees the characters, whoever's life path is being pulled, they're invested in that campaign now. It's not just this casual thing. It's a great way to get some depth to it. And Vampire Bites in the chat says the multi-shot, and he's a fellow GM, he streams, everyone should check out Vampire Bites. The multi-shot arc my game is going through was rolled up using Rob's campaign builder tables, but yeah, exactly what Phil is saying, customized for the team. So see, there's a prime example. You can use the general campaign builder to roll out the backbone, and then fill in the details with things from the life path and the cyberpunk lore and things to give it the flavor, get the players invested. Great comment, Vampire. But if that's it for Phil, who is next? I forgot what James and Brandon rolled.
I got a 2, he got a 3.
Okay, cool. Brandon, go for it.
All right, so rolling off of what Phil was saying, I think being inspired is a really big part of being able to pull something like this off. It's one of my favorite things about this. I think pulling from your favorite movies, your favorite books, and from all kinds of different media, it doesn't even have to be specifically sci-fi. You could take the story of Hamlet and take one scene from that, and you can build something around that if you wanted to. It's all about being open to be inspired as a GM, because I find that being open and receiving from everything that you see and everything that you hear and these different things that you experience, being open to see that, seeing like walking down the street, seeing this really cool looking building or something like that, that's probably going to stay in your head, and it's going to come out while you're describing something at the table that you didn't have any prep for. Turns out, just by living your life and looking around and just smelling the roses a little bit, you're prepping already. These are things that can come out in prepped games or non-prepped games, and I find that some of the best games I've had were ones that I had no time to prep for. So I highly recommend that you take a look at some of your favorite things. If it's something that you love and you're going to run a game from this, then you're going to be more invested. Your players are going to be more invested as well. And if you tie that together with a personal story, like Phil said, then 100% you're going to have a really good time at the table, because people are going to have this amazing give and take. So that's my biggest recommendation, is be open to allow yourself to be inspired, because that's a very malleable thing that you can apply in games like this.
Yeah, and I think
Vampire Bites wants to see Lear as a cyber psycho.
Yeah, and Brandon, you saying some of the greatest campaigns you've had or game player sessions have been, unplanned or with little to no prep. And I got to say, I think a lot of that stems from, because I've had that same type of experience, and I think a lot of that stems from leaning into the players a bit more too, because when you lack the exact beginning, middle, end, and granted it can go any direction to get to those points. We've discussed that in previous episodes. We're all GMs, we know how it works, but as you're doing that, it's when you have none of those points, you tend to dive in, and if you don't have a campaign builder or a backbone, you just go for it. It's you started your day, you're starting your morning, where are you guys going for today? You kind of lean a little more on the players, and it tends to go in directions that you never would have thought of, because all of a sudden you have everyone's mind at the table contributing versus you kind of laying out the main points and then everyone contributing as it goes. It's like everyone kind of has equal parts, and it just starts building in these directions you never would have thought of.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah,
and people to own a slice of the world is really handy, especially if you're scrambling to come up with stuff. I want to play in your Shakespearean Red campaign, though.
Yeah, I love that idea. I love that you mentioned that, because usually we all mention, film and TV and stuff, but you don't think of old school plays and maybe even old world history and things like that. You can pull from that you maybe wouldn't think.
Oh yeah, classics are classics for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Lion King is essentially Hamlet.
What's that, Phil?
I was going to say, we live in a pretty cyberpunk dystopia today, so there's plenty of issues that you want to draw on and glance at. You don't need a carefully constructed campaign to kind of glance at some sort of problem that you see in the world. So I try and cover little bits. I might look at for-profit medical care through implants and stuff. You can, if you see something, as Brando says, if you see something, and it interests you, especially in the modern world, you can probably put it in a campaign.
Now, I haven't tested this, but I think clickbait article titles might actually be good inspiration too.
That's true too. Great scream sheet titles, work from there.
And designer viruses to fight.
This weird new cyberware can give you X number of something.
Right.
Doctors hate him. And med techs hate him.
Yeah.
It's even funnier. That's even funnier. Okay.
But James, why don't you
Right.
us?
So, charts. I wanna bring them up. They're on page 397, and there's an
Class,
example
open your
beat
books
chart.
to 397.
There's an example beat chart on 397 on the right. And it gives a good example of how you might just take these ideas and string 5 of them together and then run a session, run a campaign, especially if you do a longer campaign. The other thing is, so let's talk about the 3 scenarios you're going to be in when you run a game like this. 1, I typically run a 2-hour game in this scenario number 1. In a 2-hour game, you should probably play one shot. You should probably play a scream sheet. Most likely, you haven't played all the scream sheets. Play one you haven't played yet. And people are going to have fun. It's guaranteed. 2, if you're one of the people that plays 4-hour sessions, you can't run a scream sheet. Sorry. You have too much time. And because of that, what you're going to need to do is hit these beat charts. Hit these beat charts on that page, 397. 3 that you want, string them together, and connect them. Whenever there's a question of who should be this person, it's always somebody from the life path. You can't do a 4-hour session without life path. It will make sense to your players that they will connect to. Unless you're very long into a campaign and you have a bunch of characters that they've dynamically created and they really liked the sushi chef at this restaurant, so they became a character. Unless you have a lot of that stored up, which is great, you're going to have to go to life path for this sort of like, I'm on the back foot, oh no. Another good tool is if you watch how much time you have left in your session and try to meter that if you need to. Random encounter. Do a random encounter. There are random encounter tables in the book. They're set to different times and different places in Night City. They make sense, and they will sort of underscore that, yes, the plot is about the characters, and the characters are the story that is moving forward through the world. But setting also has something to say about the setting itself. And gang wars cannot involve the players. I think it's also important to have an element of randomness, as there's this weird thing where even if you try very, very hard to progress the story naturally through your players, if that's all you're doing, if there's never anything that isn't plot progression, it doesn't matter how much choice they have, they will feel like they're being railroaded, which is not what's happening. But if they feel like it, they might feel like their choices don't matter. Number 3, you have a longer than a 4-hour session. That's going to be hard to do off your hat for longer than 4 hours. Running a marathon without any training beforehand,
without stretching.
Don't do longer than a 4-hour session if you're just going to go off the top of your head.
Yeah,
if you're on the back foot and if you somehow forgot to plan for a 6-hour session, you are probably forgot your friend's birthday party at that point, and you're on that level of the back foot. So maybe string both the ideas together, run a screen sheet in the middle of 3 beat charts, hits, and you might get the target
to use up time.
Even better, order pizza in the middle of the session and have a break for food because you'll need it.
Yeah.
You will.
You will. I've never been that screwed, but I've heard people who have been, and they seem to get through it fine with minor mental damage. Probably some humanity loss after doing that. um, it's actually harder to run the game without prep than it is to do with prep. So expect to take more breaks. Don't aim safely, everybody. What else we got here? More. No, that's it. That's all we got. Have fun. Run a scream sheet if you've got 2 hours. If you're doing 4 hours, try to do a couple hits of a beat chart. If you're doing more than 4 hours, order pizza in the middle and try to make something work. But honestly, you should not be on the back foot. Like I didn't prepare for the session, showing up to your session, unless that was the stated goal of the day. And there was the reason why we started this idea with, oh no, you forgot something, or you just didn't have time, because sort of faces what you should have done. You should not have done this. At the end of the day, preparation is going to make you more comfortable. It's easy to do, and you can do it. It's easier to do a session with 30 minutes of prep than it is to do it with 10 minutes of prep by far. Those extra 20 minutes can give you basically everything.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a really
I would
good point.
even go as much as say, if you've got a flexible game start time, move the game start time back 30 minutes and sit down and do nothing but
Great
prep.
point.
Running without prep is sometimes kind of fun. And it's a skill you can develop just like that. But just because it's a skill you can develop doesn't mean that you shouldn't be developing the other skill you could have been developing instead.
100%.
It's one of those things where it's a style some people have. This is my personal opinions. But we have a bunch of systems to help you if you run into this situation. And good luck.
I'm sure there must be gaming
better.
groups out there who have like a bunch of RPGs and they're just like, let's play this. I don't know who they are, but they must be out there.
Well, my buddy David's like that. My buddy David's like that. I played D&D 5th edition with him before the quarantine stuff started over a year ago, and then we transitioned online. I did, started streaming Cyberpunk and stuff. But I found out from him, he has a whole room with bookcases of like every role-playing game, every board game. Like him and his wife just love gaming, and like they post pictures like daily,
cool.
whether Facebook or Instagram or whatever, just playing different board games, different role-playing games, and like they just bust them out and go for it. But yeah, I think they're also not doing like 4 and 6 hour sessions, mind you. It's like they're jumping into it, but they're doing a feasible amount of it to where it makes sense and it's still fun. I agree with like what James said. If you're doing a 6 hour session and you're going into that with no prep and something else is wrong, you're probably showing up with no pants on and shit, you forgot to eat, things like that, because that's incredible. And if things go I do want to mention this, doesn't have to do with no prep, but PWB in the chat, and shout out to PWB, he leads up our helps with the Scream Sheet project with Capricious Nature, but he says, my first 3 sessions went 4 to 6 hours longer than I intended, meaning I imagine with that, you were planning so long with it, but then it went 4 to 6 hours over than you intended. I would say if you ever get into a situation like that where things are going so crazy off the rails where it's just, no prep would matter at that point because obviously you're going way past what you expected by hours, don't be scared to end it on a cliffhanger. If things are going a little off and let me throw in an encounter, something crazy, end it there. Now I have time to really think and plan from that point on. If it went too far off the rails and you can't pull it back, can't do whatever, don't be scared to end the session. If you already went the length you wanted, why go another 4 to 6 hours? That's tough.
This 10-hour session. The 10-hour session better be catered, man. You better be catering or something. It's insane.
For real.
I wish I had friends that good. They would do that with me.
I love that idea, James, of like there's always like you can always take a bit of time to prep. So like you're not prepped can be actually I'm going to sit for 30 minutes and just do a bare bones. Like using the stuff that like Rob has said, using a chart or using your beat charts.
There's no reason why you can't schedule yourself to show up to the location 30 minutes before the session starts and then just prep and then do it. If you're finding it hard to find time to prep in between your sessions, just schedule extra time to do it.
I'd run into that a couple of times with RealmSmith where we were very, very terrain dependent. And so that's something that it was really important that we always use this terrain, partly because of sponsorships and things like that. So there were a number of times where I had certain beats figured out, but that's all I had because the rest was terrain dependent and I didn't have all the terrain in front of me. It was all at Jason's house. So I would get to Jason's house. I would get there a half an hour early and I would throw together a map, and then this map would end up building the story while I'm putting it together.
Awesome.
Using like Dwarven Forge or something like that. There's this session that I did that took place inside of a volcano where instead of magma, it was actually molten gold. And that all came together. I had an idea that it was going to be inside this volcano of molten gold, but the entire session and the way all of that went it came together last minute right there on the table. Awesome. And it's one of the most memorable ones that I've ever run. It was a ton of fun, and I wouldn't have had that without that kind of last minute rush of creativity, because creativity often comes in those times of constraint.
Let me give you an additional nugget. Buy a bunch of Blockus sets. Get a secondhand store. They sell a lot of Blockus because people buy Blockus a lot. Yeah. They have those beautiful like plasticky pieces. They're chunky enough to like not move if the wind blows. You can just get a bunch of them, put them in a bucket, and sort of pour them to create a water feature. You can get a red, nice little lava. I've done plenty of Blockus lava flows in my day, and every time it's the first time.
That's awesome. That sounded weird, like a romantic comedy movie or something. Every time is the first time, like the first time.
You put some tiles down and you pour some Blockus pieces over it.
Now it's getting perverted. You're putting towels down. Shit, it's getting weird. No.
Tiles.
Oh, Jesus. I thought you said towels. But no, Brandon, one thing, me and Phil did a previous episode of campaign building or something where we talked about it. And exactly what you just said, I did for a while. Instead of, and this was prior to making my quick campaign builder, was instead of structuring the campaign beginning, middle, end, plot, hooks, locations, things, all the bells and whistles, or whatever, and then finding the maps that fit certain things or imagery to represent certain things. There was a while where I was having fun kind of reverse engineering that in a sense, like starting with the map and then breaking down the components of the map to make sense to parts of the campaign and things. Okay, this is what I have to work with. Let me come up with a story to tie these together one way or another somehow. And like, it was kind of fun doing that, and I think like you just said, it I don't know, forces you to think outside the box, and sometimes creative ideas will spark from that you wouldn't have normally thought of if you had to really think about it. I don't know if that makes sense, but sometimes your subconscious will kick something out without really thinking about it too much. You're like, well,
We talked about this in planning encounters, was like the terrain itself should be a character in the encounter, so that can help you create something, just a fun set piece. It's just like come up with the set piece and then get your people there.
I also want to shout out another way to play TRPGs, which is we're going to have a dinner party and we're all going to bring something to eat. And there's going to be a higher level of terrain that's going to show up. Like, so we're going to break out the Monster Fight Club terrain. We're going to break out our Dwarven Forge. And I'm going to build one area that's going to have one, maybe two encounters in it. It's going to be minimal gameplay. I'm only planning 2 hours of the session, but that whole time you're going to be on that premium terrain, etc. And somebody's going to bring like smoked salmon or something. It's going to be tasty. And everybody's going to walk out of the evening feeling like they should sign a guest book or something. There's a classier, there's a secret classy, like you can mix dinner party planning with let's play some tabletop role-playing games too. And you could have some fun just showing up to an event that's not all about playing Cyberpunk, but has playing Cyberpunk in it. could do some classy stuff. That's all I'm saying.
True.
And
I too, I've got the Dwarven Forge train, and when I bust it out, I almost feel like we should be eating dinner.
nice. Yeah, it's nice stuff. I just wanted to mention
Dinner and
That
danger.
sounds quite cool as well.
Quincy Forder in chat talking about he would do minimum prep work and modular general stuff, and then come up with like a default timeline, and that timeline would be there. So if the players don't do anything relating to the story and it goes sandbox or whatever, and then he says he went 12 hours straight with that formula in Eclipse phase, with what began as rite of passage type of adventure. And yeah, I agree. I think you get to the point where it's like minimum planning is better. It's actually more planning for how the game goes, because if you want to leave things open to player things, for agency and the things that can happen. But it is good to have those alternative timeline things, the plot hook and locations and things that, okay, well, if they don't go for that, maybe they can get that information over here somehow. You'll have your alternative options, so you don't lose your campaign, you don't lose all the plots and things, but that way you don't lock it into certain people and locations to where everything is freaking railroaded, But I think that's a great point.
That can really harm you, because if the players really resist what you put in front of them and they want to do something else, you've just spent a load of time and effort on something that they're not interested in, and so your prep is actually counter to they're using energy you could be using just to play.
Yeah. I mean, you never really want to get into that situation anyways. And sometimes if they keep doing that, it's time to pull them aside and go, hey, guys, I made this whole thing. Is there a different way we want to play? How do we want to, talk about it like adults? I've been through scenarios like that, and I've not talked about it. And then I've been through scenarios like that I've talked about it. And the second one's always better.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it's not a big, they don't even know they're doing it,
Yeah, totally. 100%.
And it's not that they're going 100%. Off the rail. Sometimes they're just sort of they're putting stuff in between you and your prep. Like, I want to just do this first, and it turns into
or sometimes they'll interpret certain things to be more important than other things, and it'll end up throwing things in a different direction. Sometimes it'll be very innocent. They'll just interpret something differently, and it'll cause things to change.
And this kind of goes for the argument of prep modular stuff ahead of time, so like, just as a GM, if you get little ideas, just prep this little portion that you could pull in, whether it's just an idea for a dungeon or, an idea for, a startup booster gang or something like that you could easily work in, and it has nothing to do with the rest of the story, but it could tie into the rest of the story because it's generic enough. These are things you just have. Yeah.
In my back pocket, I have this idea of that hasn't fit anywhere yet, which is to do with some kids who have been like dragged into a gang and they want to get out, and they need help sort of removing themselves from this gang they've decided is actually more hardcore for them. It hasn't fit anywhere. It doesn't go in any campaign yet, right? But it's sat there ready for when it's useful. So I think it's a really good point. Like,
totally.
You'll naturally come up with ideas that you can just.
That's a great point.
Whenever you have a cool idea, you owe it to yourself to take a note. Take the time out of your day. Just pretend to go to the bathroom and write it in your phone. That's what I do. I do that a lot.
That's a great point. And you can also do that same thing like Phil was saying if it's something along the lines of like Quincy's alternate timeline, because they didn't hit on certain points. So like if they don't utilize some of the cool little ideas or plot hooks or twists or encounters or whatever, if they missed them or didn't use them, they're not all lost. Like Phil said, just remember them. Like James said, write them down. Don't forget. Make note. And eventually there'll be a moment you're like, ooh, this is perfect for that moment. And you bring it out.
I carry this little notebook, this little moleskin notebook with me everywhere for that very reason, and a pen. Hopefully one that can survive being in a pocket all the time.
I've got my old school little press recorder thing. Make my little notes. Awesome. Even though I should be using my phone, I still have that from back in the day. I still use it.
Just use the note function.
I know. I still use that though. That's what I was saying. It's fun.
Anyway, we ready for some Choomba chat?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get into that. I'll bring up the logo here.
The logo?
All right. Well, the little imagery. I pull out the the combat
Love it.
zone imagery there. I just love that image. To me, it represents Choomba chat and hitting the streets with the chat. You know, I don't know. I love the vibe of it.
That's what they're
We'll
like out
bring
there.
it to us. Bring the questions to us from the streets.
Oh yeah.
Bring it to us.
Yeah, and anybody with chat, if you want to put questions in there or make comments about previous things we mentioned, go for it. You know, there's no rules here. We're just casually talking about gaming with no prep and any questions. You know, we have James here from our Talsorian. If you have any questions about Red or our Talsorian, you know, we got him here. Brandon has worked with RealmSmith. He's starting his own brand. He's also playing with us. Phil, Roll the Cast, Baby Beard Media. I've founded Cyberpunk Uncensored. So any questions about any of that stuff, it doesn't only have to do with gaming with no prep, obviously. But what's everybody's current method of making their campaigns? Like whether quick or planned or whatever, like do you like, what's kind of your current?
I tend to try and find some sort of issue that I want to talk about, whether it's medical care or like debt or like the reason people get into gangs and stuff. And so I come from like a bigger narrative idea and sort of try and make that into a story. I don't think it's a very common way of doing it, but I quite like. I think Cyberpunk's great for talking about real world stuff, exploring kind of those questions about our world. So that's what I like to do. So I start there and then sort of build backwards.
What about you guys?
My weekly play group has been, and they know it. They signed up for it. Is the degenerate gulag of playtesting, in which they playtest whatever I have that week, and they love it, and they're happy about it, and they don't complain anymore.
Yes, James, whatever you say.
Today we're going to use dominoes instead of dice.
Which number do I use, the 1 or the 5?
What about you, Brandon?
For me, I use a mix between like some prepped modular stuff and unprepped entry into the game, because I really enjoy that feeling of flying by the seat of your pants, but I don't like going in like without pants, if you know what I mean.
100%.
You got to have pants on if you're going to fly by the seat of them.
Right.
So I like to have those ideas jotted down. Usually I'll have been thinking about it, maybe not taking notes, but thinking about what I'm going to do for the session, or finding that thing that feels right. And then when we get to the table, that'll usually be the main theme of what we're about to do. And then a lot of the other ideas that I've had from then on will factor into that. And then I often use the one-shot prep techniques, of having a schedule, of knowing when things need to move along, keeping an eye on the clock, that sort of thing.
Nice. Yeah, I've used the my quick campaign builder in the past, like handful of sessions, so I don't sit there and overthink. Well, I guess I could make this about this or that, and like I start second guessing, then I start overthinking, and then I'm like, fuck, I have too many options. I can't, settle on anything because I love all of them. And like, so I've been using my quick campaign builder to at least get me into the backbone of it, and then I kind of pull in something I find really interesting, whether like culturally or technologically or violent, or something that just sparks a sort of passion within a certain aspect of emotion. And then 100% lately I've been all about twists and surprises. I really love trying to come up with creative ways to just make shit happen, or a twist on something you're expecting. Oh, this is cut and dry, I just got to do this. Then you get there and you're like, wait, what? And like, I just love twists and things like little surprises and stuff lately. Like you guys,
it's a real cool thing.
Like when I said
like
everyone roll resist torture and drugs yesterday during Sirenscape. You're all eating breakfast with Leviticus from the Dixie, and he's very that Southern charm, polite, and then all of a sudden, like, you realize he's drugging everyone, so you could really just get some info and fuck them, like. So I love little surprises like that, like complete twists,
So Quincy's over here. He's asking me about the commune Haven. He says, so yeah, I call it Heaven with an AI. So that's very nice. Thank you for prompting about that, which is kind of linked to our topic because I have a setting, I can base things in that setting, which also helps me because I've thought a lot about this kind of particular place. It's home for edgerunners, and then because I've thought about it so much, there are a ton of kind of jumping off points there. And other people have used it. So I've used it in a second campaign for Sirenscape. Someone used it for a campaign I ran in, which he said Corporate Infestation, which is based out of Heaven as well. So if people don't know, it's a edgerunner commune where they're trying to live by anarchist principles in a tower that they took over, and an AI runs it, helps them organize without leaders and stuff. So it's an idea that I decided to develop prior to my first campaign, but now it's this kind of basis where I'm like, what if I did a murder investigation in the tower? How would anarchists deal with like a murderer in their midst? Or what if they are short on clean water? What if the tower gets attacked from the air by the Red Chrome Legion? What if people start calling on Heaven for help in the local neighborhoods? How do they respond? So I've got these ideas just because I have a kind of home base for my players. And so I found that to be a really cool kind of anchoring point for me and my stories. And also, yes, thank you for allowing me to plug my stuff. I'm planning on making that into like a proper module because I've thought way too much about how it might work. And like I said, the issues that people might come up with there. And I think as we were talking about earlier, you will just naturally come up with ideas based on, if you're playing an ongoing game, particularly you have these ideas for like stuff that shoots off that might not be part of the main plot. And then if you're feeling a bit underprepared, just use them.
Yeah. PWB, thanks so much. He says, I've been loving your red sessions, Rob. I've been really into it. I have a new team starting tomorrow. I did want to mention Sean from Roll to Cast, one of Phil's partners, is joining me. Also Greg from How to Drink, as well as some other players, Steve from Sirenscape, and some others. Tarabella Pondsmith will be with us, Roten. So that team session 0 will be tomorrow. But yeah, I've just as much read as I can do. I absolutely love it. But I'm also starting up Fallout. I've done a recent partnership with Modifius, or hopefully I'm getting that name right. But we just kind of got into preliminary talk in this past week, and I'm going to be running some Dune, some Fallout. I think Brandon's going to be joining me. I'm also partnering with Mad Queen for some game stuff, some stuff on our channel, her channel. Just a lot of expansions. Plus, we're launching a Kickstarter. We got these collapsible dice towers and custom cyberpunk style dice. These cases that look like gun magazines, just really badass stuff. These miniatures that have magnet heads, arms, legs, backpacks, things so you can change up the way that they look completely and interchange. Just amazing stuff we're working on. Really innovative, really cool looking things. The towers are going to have Roll to Cast, How to Be a Great GM, a bunch of other streamer logos. We're doing a bunch of licensing with all these people and brands. I was really hoping to get RTG into it, but it didn't pan out. I know I was kind of hyping that for the past months, but it didn't pan out. But it's fine. We got a lot of other brands on board and people, so it's going to be coming soon. But Vampire was mentioning in the chat too about his, lack of prepping and leaving it open for player agency, letting it develop. And one thing he said is, really, I'm a player that ended up being a GM, so I prefer minimal prep because I can't really plan an entire campaign, but also probably because that's how I played D&D as a kid, and then I moved on to the White Wolf stuff. And I got to say, 100%, like when I think back when I was a kid first getting into like D&D and then Cyberpunk and stuff, me and my friends would play, and one friend in particular, me and my buddy Eric, we would sit and play like out. He would stay the night at my house, me at his house. We'd play all fucking night, and it would just be completely open world. We'd run off maybe one of the scream sheets in the back of the 2020 book or something once in a while, but mostly we would just, all right, you woke up, what do you want to do? And it was just fun to be like, oh, I want to go to a local bar. You look at the Night City map. We had the Night City source book. We're like, oh, let's go here. What number is it? And it was just fun to open world it and see where things go. I really enjoy that too. There's another question for you. It looks like. Phil, have you read Nexus by Ramez Nam?
No, I haven't.
It's a brilliant idea, just waiting for GM to adapt it. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't, but that goes to that point of adapt things that you like. I want to set something on a generation ship at the moment because I think it'd be a really cool idea of like those challenges that you might face, political and otherwise, on a multiple generations of travel between the stars. So yeah, there's always things percolating there. I wanted to ask, because we were talking about random encounters earlier. I wanted to ask, do you have like a memorable story, James, of like what's the best thing that's rolled up out of a random encounter?
I thought you're asking for a very specific, randomly generated story. Typically, I love writing brand new NPCs for my things, so I don't really use the random generator table a lot. A lot of times I'm using it as a halfway, like, hey, I statted up this thing that I could totally just copy and paste into my writing for my work. I'm using it as a place to. It's not really how I game these days, so no. But
I had a great one happen with the Inquisitors just turn up in one of my campaigns off a random table. I needed something dangerous to happen because I felt we were low on threat that day. And so they're just like wandering around the streets and they just accost one of the characters. Hey, do you have Chrome? Oh, you do? You're bad. Situation. Begin.
Yeah. And
I was imagining the Inquisitors as being the type of people to hold up those the end is nigh signs.
Stand on corners on little boxes yelling.
Yeah, I think they're on corners with signs.
Yeah.
That was how they showed up to me.
Hey,
I always think they should have whips. They should go around whipping people.
Shame.
Oh yeah.
Shame.
Seems thematic. Hit us with your questions, guys.
Yeah, anybody has any questions, drop. Does anyone hesitate to include canon characters or places in their games? It seems unlikely top-level NPCs will be included low-level players. PWB, I think you've heard me mention that. And I think I talked to you about that too when we were doing a previous stream. But yeah, I rarely incorporate, canon characters or, famous lore or big-time stuff because it comes across cheesy. I feel like, in a big world, a big city that's overpopulated, very dystopian, cutthroat, the way it is, like, not everyone is going to meet Johnny Silverhand back in 2020, and not everyone's going to meet, you're not going to meet all these famous characters. Now, they're there for lore, news, people that might know them, maybe a story trailing from them. I love stuff like that, but I agree. I think the interaction needs to be minimum, otherwise it's going to feel too contrived, and to me, I guess cheesy is the word I'm thinking. I don't know the right wording for that, but it just feels weird.
So let me riff on that.
What's that?
So when you do that, anytime you're meeting like a character who's named in the book face to face, should have had to either get that meeting. The worst thing would be is they want to talk to you for no reason. Like they call you up like, "Hey, buddy."
Right.
That would be cheesy. That is cheesy. But not all fixers get jobs from the ether. A lot of fixers get jobs from other fixers. So if your fixer knows their fixer, it could be possible that the big canon character is your fixer's contact. I think it's also rather powerful to as they level up higher, especially if you have a fixer player character, give them a contact that is named in the core book.
And I think you tapped into something like if it's a fixer, say, that knows a fixer that does know that canon famous person, maybe it's not the thing where it's like that direct contact, but maybe since you know that fixer, you're at that fixer's night market or something along, and that person shows up, walks through, and you see them. It's not a direct interaction, but they're there or something. Maybe something along those lines.
There are tons of fixers in the core book that would love to do business with the player characters if they were good enough. And it's a way of showing them that, hey, you're no longer in the first tier of play. You're now in the second tier of play. How these people will give you the time of day on their terms.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
You've got the big plot. You can have canon things as well that aren't necessarily these these core characters, right? You can still interact with things like Biotechnica, with Militech and stuff. You don't have to interact them at the highest level.
I mean, as long as they're not like meeting Michiko Sanderson.
That's right. Yeah.
Without
on day
serious necks. If they're not like a Fixer 8 or something or a Corp 8, they shouldn't be meeting Michiko Sanderson. Media shouldn't be interviewing Michiko Sanderson. Something has gone wrong.
I sometimes do little background flavor stuff, so I'll throw in like a pre-written news report or something, and you can throw in a face of a corpo there, you know.
There's a great on one of the pages in the card book. There's a news title generator, which can roll like CEO kills dog.
Yeah.
Or something like that, and that one's really fun to roll. As a fun session that you might be able to do without prep.
And that's a great point. You mentioned scream sheets earlier and stuff.
Roll once, and there you go.
Yeah, and that's a great way, like its own quick campaign builder right there to throw together a scream sheet to build that one shot off for fun or whatever.
I mean, but that's the fun of having a tarot deck, right?
Yeah.
Like, what did I get this time? Corporation, eyes, oh, looks like we're doing this week. If you ever need like one step to start a process, maybe you need that like one thing so you're not at the blank page, you're at the page with one sentence on it. That.
And back
pointing out your one-shot pack as well. Like, say you have a player who's just rocked up. This person has decided last minute they want to come. You've got that one-shot pack with a dozen characters in it. What appeals to you? Here you go. It's fully statted. You know, there's always that little resource to get you over that line of the thing that you're missing. That one-shot pack has net architectures. Those can be a little bit hard to come up with on the fly. If you've got a net runner in a party, you want them doing net running stuff.
I'd say the bare minimum to get off the ground, give them the one-shot pack, still roll life path.
Yep.
It'll take 5 minutes, but it'll make them enjoy the game twice as much. Especially if you reference their life path, because then they'll suddenly be like, what? Something matters? Oh my God.
Yeah.
I just came up with this guy 5 minutes ago, and you're like, so what?
He doesn't feel that way.
On that canon,
he doesn't.
I didn't know that.
Back on that canon
it says
encounter.
Here he's 43.
I want to mention before chat loses them, but Vampire was saying back on that canon encounter that roll 7 or 8, like the roll ability 7 or 8 is where I start planning on introing names. Like I usually wait till those players get up to about level or roll ability 7 or 8 before you might be considered of the caliber to kind of meet some of these famous names from the book, some of the canon. And that makes sense. That's playing into like what James was saying. If you're just starting out, you're not gonna get that interview. You're not gonna book that meeting. They're not gonna call you for help. Like you're just not gonna be interacting with NPCs and calibers and of that caliber. These people from the lore or whatever. So yeah, I agree with that. I think waiting until about level 7 or 8 or so, and it all depends on what the encounter might be.
I would do it earlier if it was a specific face from the corp and you had a corp player. Just because they should at some point have to do the thing where the boss's boss is going to show up. They need to finish the TPS report. I don't know.
You need to hit your KPIs quick.
I would never have them meet in person. You have to go to this giant interned at General Mills. They had the CEO show up, and there was an auditorium with like 600 people in it, and the CEO was there. And it's in that setting that you would meet him.
Right.
Not.
And I like
he's a hologram.
Lord Deathhand mentioned in there. I think it's always great to create secondary interaction with naked characters, like the players will do XYZ for a fixer or third party, and that is reflected in a headline with a named character after the fact or corp. And yeah, see, and there's like an indirect association with maybe some canon lore or person or NPC or corp or something that maybe is above the caliber, but it's like third party introduced. Like I was saying, like if you know the fixer of a fixer, maybe you get invited to his night market where you see his the caliber of his ship, but you're not going to get to interact with them. But you're slowly third party getting associated, maybe, or at least get to see them. I can understand.
That rolling consequences can help as well.
Do you have more questions? I like this. I want to keep going here. We have, if you ever do the mysterious benefactor is giving your fixer a job, which is being given to you, just keep track of how many times you do that. And when you show off a named character, you can be like, they were the mysterious benefactor all along.
Yeah.
They'll feel great about it.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Have a tally mark of mysterious benefactor. Check.
Let's see, Quincy, the reverse could be true too. A big name might need a fall guy or a no known ties and has the players hired. Exactly. And that's one way I could see it kind of working is maybe, but again, it's not going to be direct. You know what I mean? It's not like the main dude's going to call down to the fourth role ability edge runner or whatever. But again, there's another sort of backdoor approach or third party approach to involving some bigger names.
The key is just avoiding that like cheesy. The first time you meet the named character is near entry level, and it feels cheesy because they have no story reason to want to talk to you.
Right, 100%.
That's why people. That's the Drizzt thing. People are trying to avoid. I'll say the name. This is a problem. It's sort of the Drizzt paradox. You don't want to ever see Drizzt in your D&D game. This is there's no way to do it without it feeling cheesy.
Lord Death.
If you do it right, there are ways to do it right, and we've discussed a couple of those ways.
Do you want me to go, Rob?
Were you going to ask the Lord Death Hands question?
Yeah,
go for it.
It says, how do you guys feel about rolling in the older Cyberpunk 2020 resources for Red? Some of the old Chromebooks or Max Metal?
Ooh.
James, I think you should start that with.
It's amazing to get inspired by 2020 stuff, but if you're pulling out of Max Metal, it will need a little bit of conversion that you'll do on your own time. Be a lot easier to just get inspired by the content. But direct translations of 2020 mechanics are very difficult to do. There's possibility for a limited amount of that, which I've detailed in Old Guns Never Die. But remember how earlier when we were talking about hardened lieutenants and hardened mooks you asked if there was a great formula that passed through my methods. The answer is there is no great formula. It will have to be done by hand. So much I could create a great formula, I put it in Old Guns Never Die. Car's on the way. Chrome's coming. Have no fear.
Give us the chrome.
Night City Sourcebook is an amazing sourcebook because so much of it has no mechanical stuff in it, and it's just full of ideas. And it's one of the best source books from 2020 to play in Red. That would be the one that I would say, whoa, get that, instead of Max Metal, which would be hard to move forward.
Yeah, it's funny because at my Night City sourcebook, I still have, all my first prints of all that shit from when I was a kid. I still lean into the Night City sourcebook for fun little things because it's so full of just odd and end goodies. Like, it's just so good.
When you told your story earlier about how you would just say, hey, where do you want to go today? I want to go to this bar. I could tell that you played with the Night City sourcebook as a kid. I could 100% tell because that's the book that you would have that kind of fun in.
And it was so cool because I'm even like getting the same feeling of when I was a kid right now talking about it. Like it felt so deep and so big and real, going around Night City using that book. It was like, man, every block it's like laying out different options and like it was just so good. And then the gang breakdowns just had so many, the metro system, the typical layout of a exec apartment, like it had all these like little goody things in it that are just
that book's very magical.
So awesome.
Very magical book.
So awesome.
One of my favorite things that I remember is like it's technically legal to like blow up cars if they're parked in handicap spaces. And it's just like a sidebar and it's just great. It talks about like when that law came into being. It's just such a nice little bit of flavor. It doesn't really belong in another book, but I'm so glad it's there. Speaking of these great sources, do we know when the Forlorn Hope's coming back? Is it coming back?
What?
The Forlorn Hope?
Oh,
I think a
Forlorn
few
Hope?
people are
Forlorn
waiting.
Hope? I can't announce anything.
Can't say. I imagine that will be the similar to Vampire Bites question as well.
Still ask it anyways.
Yes, I know you can't say and or don't know. When can we expect Black Chrome, Rusted Chrome, and question mark?
Because I think there was a High Writers book you guys talked about coming to with the Rust and Black Chrome.
I will promise one thing. When you get it, it will be good.
Hell yeah.
That's the thing controlled within our power to do.
Yeah.
That's what we can promise right now. I can promise that you will.
Is forever bad.
Hell yeah.
Until the reprint. Sorry.
Vampire says he's holding you to that. No bugs.
I'm sure you'll like it, Vampire.
No bugs and glitches? No, it'll be good to go. Capricious.
You'll turn one page and it'll be like happened.
That's funny.
All the other pages of the book will be blank, and you'll have to close it and open it again to get the ink back.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that's such a good idea. Oh,
The Windows startup sound.
Shake it.
That's funny.
Man, that idea would be great in Harry Potter.
A little off red topic I wanted to see. Brandon, we all know you from RealmSmith and stuff, but you're getting ready to start your own brand and kind of do that. Is it correct? What is that called again?
Yeah, it's called The Endless Voyage, and the idea is that all of life is stories, right? So life itself is the endless voyage, and as we, read through books and we go through movies and we play video games and we play tabletop games, we're creating these stories that contribute to this endless voyage. So the idea was that I wanted to have a brand that would allow me to talk about anything, just kind of whatever came up, but have a structure around that approach as well. So one of the first things that I'm playing around with is actually doing live plays of video games, but RP, the internal monologue, and the thought process of the character while going through the game. And
I love that.
The game I was planning to start with is
Cool.
actually 2077. So, yeah.
I really like that idea. That's cool. I'll watch it.
Yeah. The tricky part will be trying to get male V's voice down. So we'll see.
I like to do that at my table as well. If you've got a lull, if some character's not in the action, they're not a big talker. You just say, "What's your character thinking?"
Yeah. And actually, on top of that, I am writing a novel right now as well that I plan to be releasing and promoting through the Endless Voyage. So, yeah. So keep your eyes open for something like that, because I'll be dropping some sample chapters.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Rock on.
Mm-hmm.
Check the chat. Yeah, chat.
Have any more questions?
Any more questions? Get them in before we end this episode. We have some more time if you got questions, but if you don't, we'll end it. Cyber themed novel. He was saying, PWB, who also has a private channel on the Cyberpunk Uncensored Discord. He's a writer. Everyone should check him out. PWB. Or PW Bind, depending on how you read his username. Mr. Bind if you're nasty, if you're into Janet Jackson. People don't get that reference because I'm old, but it's fine. I think really getting into the head of a character or a player's character really helps the suspension of disbelief, especially then the standoff scenario. Absolutely. Yeah, give them depth, bring them to life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like.
Yeah, I need to use Face Down more.
Using what?
Face
Down.
We talk a lot about being a really good GM, but I think there's also room for I want to be a really good player.
Mm-hmm.
One of the skills you can have as a player is I want to suspend my disbelief so hard. I want to be super suspended in my disbelief. I want to role play my character better, closer to the way I think they would act. I want to, give more opportunities for other people to riff off what I'm doing. I want to do, I want to say open questions instead of closed questions. Or I do this. Doesn't you want to do I do this in a way that leads to somebody else doing something too, so they can have fun as well.
And I'm a fan
I
of.
think that
Uh,
talk a lot about being a good GM. I think we should talk about being a good player a little bit more too.
I love when
Same players are
players, instead of saying
It's just I love good players at my table. It's so fun.
oh, big time. Big time. But I love when players too, instead of saying like I do this or my character says this, they just do it. And that's what I love about what we're doing on the Sirenscape gameplay. All my players and all my different streams lately, like all my new teams, they're just an awesome caliber of players. Everyone is into it, cosplaying, doing voices. They're into it.
Hell yeah.
But that's what I really love about the Sirenscape team, not just to hype up Brandon and Phil since we're here in person. I'm not just kissing ass because we're face to face right now, but you know what I mean? Honestly, like, you two and Rockette and Ellen, like, I love the fact that you rarely ever are like, well, she says this or he does this or whatever. Like, you literally say it in character, or like, you'll act out things, and like, it just makes the game so much more immersive and so much more fun. It really does.
You never want to interrupt a player talking in character to another player at your table. Ever. If that starts happening, and everybody suddenly starts having way too much fun, you should probably break for pizza.
Yeah.
Could get too fun.
It's true though, but if you get a situation when they start talking amongst themselves, you're not prepping. That's a part you haven't had to prep for. They're organically making fun. Let them do it. You don't have to prep that.
Sometimes the worst part about it is they're having way more fun than you could have prepped for.
Yes.
No matter what you do, it will never be as fun as them having an in-world conversation with two characters that they have in their heads and are suspended disbelief in and are embodying. That
100%.
will always be more fun than what you can do as a GM. So sometimes you just, wow, there's a really pretty bird over there. I'm going to look at the bird.
has a question for you, James. Have you ever had an idea that got away from you in a totally different way than you expected?
That's a very big question, and the answer can only be yes, of course.
It's called our Talsorian games.
No. It's a lot of things all the time. Scope creep is the negative way of putting that. But that's when a project grows arms and legs you didn't think it would have, and now you're like, oh, I'm making something else than I originally intended to make. Is that a problem? And you have to ask yourself if it's a problem. Most times it's not a problem. Sometimes it is. But I think you gotta, when you're writing, when you're designing, you have to prepare for whatever you're doing to it, to evolve it in some way, as well as, it's not a progress bar that when it's completed, the book is done. Sometimes what you're writing can increase the size of the bar, which you hope you write faster than the bar increases, or you'll never finish the book. Shout out to what you may experience while writing your book all the time. Anybody who writes books will feel that. But it's also the idea of created. I'm gonna call out Rob here. This video script generated 3 more video scripts. What happened?
What was that?
I finished this video and it gave me the idea for 3 more videos while I was writing the script. You probably have that happen to you.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All the time, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's just at a certain level, it becomes, what do you want to do with your time?
Exactly. No, and sometimes that's
and,
it with the campaign building too. It comes into that same mind frame where like you just can't settle because you keep thinking of different good ideas and tangents. Something sparks something else. That's why that quick campaign builder I made came into play, because I needed something to tell me this is your backbone. Now just fill in details around these set things, because I would spend too much time like, fuck, this idea. Oh, actually, it could be this. Well, it could go this way. That guy could act like it could be. This could be the twist. No, wait, that could. And I'll just keep going like with ideas and like, absolutely. And it happens with script writing, all that shit.
Well, I will say that there comes a point in time in every project where you must move from synthesis to polish. You will say, I've figured out what this thing that I'm doing is, and now I need to make sure that it is polished and complete. And when do you make that turn, in your writing process, that's a matter of personal preference. But certainly, the more you do that, the more you'll end up writing.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Lord
As far as
Deathhand.
I'm concerned, that's a good thing.
Thanks, Lord Deathhand, for the sub, by the way. I want to say that before it got too far away. And the Anti-Podine D20 for the follow. And I see you're also from Philstown, apparently, huh?
Mm-hmm. That's Heath.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Oh, nice.
He's awesome, dude. Definitely follow his stuff. He does some great things.
Very cool. Quick question from Lord Deathhand. Has anyone tried expanded cops or C-SWAT in Red? What do you mean tried? Tried expanded cops or C-SWAT? You mean like incorporating them into your campaign as like an NPC or an encounter or part of the story? Or do you mean trying them
I think I know what he means. I think he's referring... Maybe this is wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of times you'll be playing with a lawman, and they'll be generating these units, essentially, to help them on the battlefield, right? And every once in a while, one of those units will do a really cool thing that really helps them out, like they pick up the grenade that was thrown at them and throw it back or something, or they say something cool, and then they suddenly become a character. Does he mean expanding those into, okay, this guy is no longer a faceless mook created as a game mechanic. Now we gotta give him a name, we gotta give him a family, maybe let's roll some life path for him. Anyway, is that what they mean? Expanding the SWAT team, like expanding a character off of it?
Well, he said like building a campaign, yeah. So maybe he's thinking like just incorporating them into a campaign, like using C-SWAT and...
Wants page...
The only time
392, he wants page 392, there's a section for a lawman campaign.
Nice.
Listed as meet the teams. Lawman is one of the teams. Totally do it. That's the really cool campaign where like 2 people can play a lawman, and then you can have other people playing like a solo that's like a sniper or something. You can be a cop even if you're not a lawman. That makes sense. Just like you can be a nomad that doesn't. You can be part of a nomad pack even if you're not a nomad.
That's our team in Sirenscape. I created a district PD, which is kind of a new thing the council's paying for to help the NCPD, with individual district PDs. And the team, Brandon, Phil, and Rocket and Ellen, they work for a kind of off-the-books division of the Upper Marina District PD. So they are kind of living that lawman investigative team lifestyle, even though they're individual roles. They're not all actually lawmen,
In the nice neighborhood, huh?
Yeah, I guess.
In the Upper Marina.
Well, you got the docks and
still
things
living
going
on
on.
container though.
Yeah, just gotta watch out for those designer plagues.
Yeah, don't forget about the docks. Don't forget it bordering the hot zone and shit. Like Upper Marina is nice if you're like right in the center or to the right, the east of
relative,
or a little bit to the west. Exactly.
I mean, I sure would want to be near the trauma team tower and not further away from it.
That's true. I would rather just be in the exec zone.
Watch your AV arriving.
I'll just chill in the exec zone, nice and safe. I feel like all
I've had scenes in there.
Nice.
Exec zone campaign, man. That would be so funny. Start a game where everybody's a super high ranking exec, so they already have the like suburban mansion, and they're just trying to get the McMansion. It's their stated goal. Yeah. It's just a bunch of people. I go golfing with Reginald. On the golf course, I roll persuasion. They say, I see the budget has changed for quarter 4.
Give me
Per my previous email.
You could have so much fun.
Give me an athletics roll on that putt. Hit the range table.
I love that idea.
The range table. Oh my god.
Hit the range table on that putt.
Reformatted as a table for like driving, putting. Somebody do it. Try do it.
Oh, it's gotta happen.
Definitely need tennis mechanics.
Do this,
right?
James. I'll put that idea together if you come and run a one shot for that for Cyberpunk Uncensored.
I don't know. How about you fall on the grenade by yourself? And I have with me nowhere in the blast radius. With me nowhere.
Bean counters.
With you nowhere.
Was that Phil?
PWB says bean counters, which would probably be a good name for it, I think.
Yeah.
Oh man, not at the exec rank you'd need to be in the exec zone. Like see the series billions.
Maybe fat cats.
Something like that. That would be funny.
Yeah.
Big kahunas.
We were talking about cops and stuff. What I use things like max tack and stuff as a you need to be out of this situation now button. It's like max tack's on the way. Leave. So I use them more as like a force outside the game that you should never actually tangle with. So I can draw them in to sort of push players along. Okay,
Isn't
you're making too much mess.
That's what I love about
get it.
Sirenscape too. I'll just trigger the sirens. Be like, you hear sirens in the distance approaching. Everyone's like, all right, time to get the hell out.
Why tell them in 3 rounds the max tech show up when you could say you hear sirens?
Yeah, that's
God.
right. Oh shit!
Oh God, run!
And Delta.
I am waiting for people to put some corpos in. I think if we were polled, I think it would probably be the least picked up class, right? The least picked up role.
I've got an exec on my
good.
one of my monthly teams, and a media. They're actually a couple. They
I'm dying to play media.
and I've put together their team. During our session 0, they're actually they started Veritas, which is a media corporation that they started together. So like there's an exec, media. Wandering DM is in that. He plays a lawman, so he's kind of like, but he's ex lawman, but he's like security for that. My wife Valerie's in it. She's a fixer, so she's kind of the hookup for some leads aside from what the media can get. But they're starting up a media company to put out news and stuff and expose stories. But the exec in that is kind of handling the business side of that. I enjoy it. It's the first time I've leaned into like the business side of an exec versus kind of the rollability aspect of it, if that makes sense. But I've never seen, like a whole team of them. I really do like that idea. Not on the cheesy golfing way, but I think there could be a creative way to pull that off.
Do it though. If you'd pull that off, you'd end up writing golfing.
Well, it'll happen, but I'm saying it's not going to be the focus of the campaign. Yeah, exactly. It'll be there. It just won't be that.
What is it? It's just a lot of not a lot of game systems like really allow you even in any interesting way to do, let's do a party, but we're all going to play fighters, or we're all going to play this class, or all going to play that class. I think Cyberpunk's ability to do it and remain standing is a big benefit of the game, of the rule set, to be honest. The point where it's like, yeah, that would be fun. Oh, this would be cool. Because they're so tied into different parts of the world, it would almost give the GM a way of like pushing that type of campaign. It would almost help a cooler campaign in a fun way.
It's amazing for that. It's very well balanced.
We'll say if you haven't run a campaign that is corp focused, where you're the bad guy, essentially, it's just as fun as playing an evil campaign in any other game. And it has very unique it has a unique vibe when you play it in Cyberpunk. So I would recommend it.
I love that.
Anybody's like, what am I gonna do for my campaign?
And speaking of full a team of the same role sort of campaigns or teams. Capricious Nature is getting ready to start up a Saturday stream with Cyberpunk Uncensored. It'll be ongoing, and it's going to be based around a team of nomads that are each going to have their different skill sets and kind of fit into different aspects of a team, but they are all nomads. And he's going to base a lot of the campaigns out in the wastelands and traveling around, less city-based and more nomad lifestyle. And I really like that. Capricious Nature is also the one that created the Vehicles of Red sort of supplement thing that we have on the Cyberpunk Uncensored site. If nobody has seen that, go get it. It's amazing. It has all kinds of vehicle upgrades and supplements, and it's awesome. And I'm looking forward to him streaming with us as soon as him and his team get ready. It's going to be another, I think, few weeks. I think he's not going to be starting it until July sometime. But I am looking forward to that. It's going to be a full team of nomads. Pretty cool.
Nomad culture is so cool. It's such a great thing to play around with. We're talking about using random tables for stuff. There's a canon thing in my games now is a traveling circus of nomads, and they're called the Volkov family circus. They're from Eastern Europe, and that came from a random table, but that getting to explore that culture as part of the campaign was amazing. Like, only one of the characters was from there, but going out and getting into different parts of the world, whether it's nomad, whether it's going to the war tour, the warlord ruled Dixie, getting out of Night City and finding a corner that hasn't been looked at yet is always really good. I know there's people out there. Someone in our Baby Beard Discord has made like a Neo York, which is New York in the time of the Red. There's so many possibilities for bits of the world that you can explore, whether you get there from a random table or you get there because you just have an idea one day. What part of the world are you looking forward to?
Hit me with it, Phil. Hit me with it.
Everyone be
What are
quiet.
you talking about?
Sorry, what?
Sorry, I got too quiet and I cut you off. What'd you say, Phil?
I was just wondering, I was trying to prompt you guys if there's a piece of the world that you haven't had a chance to explore in a game that you're dying to. Obviously, we've talked about the corporate world, and the nomad world.
What about the floating cities?
I for one want to see what floating cities are like, or do something with high riders.
I've got something planned for deep divers with one of my teams coming up. I don't want to say too much because some of them watch the streams and stuff, but I love the idea of the floating cities, which I believe is where Phil, your character's from, and ours, isn't it?
He's Bud's from, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Wandering DM has something similar to that in that other campaign. But I want to get into the deep divers in those dome civilizations underwater, and just the weirdness that could go on there. I've also did a Night City Live episode about I can't remember what that episode was about, but me and Lobster Falcon got into these like roaming cities right out on the water, like what Phil, your character, is from, and we came up with this idea of this like old aircraft carrier powered by like nuclear fusion that actually is powered, that travels around like this huge city that has all these power trails to smaller barges and ships that it's dragging along, powering. So it's like these separate little communities. It's just, there's really interesting shit you can do out on the water. And then if you incorporate the deep divers, you can get into not just different location stuff, but completely different cultural stuff. Because who's to say that some of them haven't been cut off for a while and they're stuck in a different place and evolved in a different way culturally. I'm not saying like incorporate like mutations and things to go completely sci-fi with Cyberpunk, or bring it back to cyber generation by any means. But what I am saying is, culturally, maybe hierarchy and politics and things are just different there. And I'm excited to kind of get into that. I have some interesting ideas for it.
That's a brilliant idea.
Thank you.
Love that. Well, the cool thing about that too is you could have somebody that's like a corpo at the top, corpo type, right? And when the shit hits the fan, he starts cutting off the ships so that they can move faster, right?
I love
who
that.
cares about that?
Trim the fat, man. Trim the fat.
Exactly. We need to get moving.
Yeah. Now, so many ideas can spark from that little concept, but I agree with Phil. Like some of the more interesting places I'm looking forward to going as well is out on the water and below it.
Yeah. What about there's some orbital stuff as well, right?
Yeah.
Like I haven't read too much into it, but I feel like there's got to be something really cool happening
High
up
riders.
there. Yeah.
Raiders. There's fun to be had doing some high raiders. There are rules for fixating in space. I put just enough rules that people could do high riders before we did anything with them. In the core book, check the asphyxiation rules.
I'm hoping I'm hoping it draws a little bit from the space rasters from Neuromancer.
I can't
Can't say.
I can't parse anything.
Can you
There's
wink?
nothing
I'm
to
excited.
stop-
Can you
Let
wink?
me
There's nothing
get
to
off
stop
this
people
topic
doing
I
that,
can't
though.
talk about.
Yeah.
Let me your topic I can't talk about to I'm excited to do more Elflands Online personally.
Yes.
I think it's gonna be fun. People are liking it.
We could do a whole
Or else.
round table about the world of
Elves
like
are
social media in Red.
You wouldn't want me for that. You'd want Jay.
He's the social media man.
Yeah.
It changes
He
how
put
rockers
together
and stuff, though.
Ziggurat. So
Yeah.
would know more about the lore too.
PWB says, "Oh, snap.
Anymore.
A heist by retired lawman called Donuts." All right, he'll be quiet now. Because he was saying, what about a complete crew of retired 55-plus-year-old lawmen, Donut Patrol?
If you've made it to 55 in Nice City, you probably
You got to be
skilled.
Yeah, you got to be some type
So
of
the
badass.
old school. If you're gonna do that, you got to read 2020's Protect and Serve. You're gonna have to do like internal office politics, and they basically say that if you survive your first 2 years on the job, the NCPD, you get promoted to like lieutenant or something. Because congratulations, you beat the odds.
Yep. No, I've mentioned that too.
God, can you imagine the action economy after all 4 people use their backup skill.
Yeah. Well, some of that, if you get that big, obviously, maybe there's some caveats or like maybe like a little bit of homebrew mixed in with some of that, so it doesn't get completely unbalanced. Because if you have a team of all the
let them feel powerful.
Like a team, like a team of lawmen with backup becomes a tiny army, a little mini militia, just like execs with all their minions. You know what I mean? Like if they all come together, it's like, man, it could be a little. You got to watch the balance there. As long as you have things set up properly for your campaign, it shouldn't matter. But if you don't, by all means, they could take over. A couple NPCs, really easy.
Yeah.
You got to turn those into a handful.
There's ways to run that. But I might argue and say that, look, if you're calling for backup and you are in this district, then there's only so much backup that you're going to be able to call. So if you're all calling for backup, you may get a few extra guys or something like that, but it's probably not going to be, the full amount that you're hoping for.
Right. A couple of them show up drunk because they were off the clock,
If you want to go full fun, then army combat for sure.
Everybody's backups can show up at different times, likely.
That's true too.
And once people start showing up, if you're outside with a walkie-talkie, with your squad car or whatever, 4 of you are out there. They don't need to respect the rules of engagement. They're criminals. They might just try to flee.
Yeah,
I love it
The lawman is really good at winning fair fights.
Right.
Put it that way.
It's true.
I like, even when you try and break the game, there are ways to play it,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've tested it. It doesn't break the game. The backup isn't as good as you might think in that mass swarm scenario. It'll make you win if you have numbers in a straight firefight, but the idea is you don't get into a lot of like Revolutionary War style straight firefights. Like everybody line up.
Right.
At a certain point, people are going to be squeezing other people through doorways.
Yeah.
Good point.
The fatal funnel.
That's true. Not to mention, might be an interesting attraction for some bozos or something like that to think, hey, what have we got here?
You're going to cause a giant commotion.
Yeah.
Multiple backups called. That's a high-end police presence in an area.
It's you're running into some Blues Brothers style scenario.
Oh, yeah.
Cars going over ramps and all kinds of stuff.
I mean, it's not. I will say it's not as broken as like, hey, let's all play level 4 solos. Let's all play solo, and let's all completely tune for combat. Honestly, that type of campaign, maybe that's when you break out the hardened mooks. Players are going to do what they're going to do, you know? Sometimes we'll just have to break out the glass on the wall.
Right.
Break out the
break for emergency.
the break in case of Power Gaming series.
Yeah.
Right, for free DLCs. Check it out. Stay prepared, just in case everybody says, I want to play a Exactly.
It's like, well, I've got these golf rules prepared. I feel like, you know, the players are giving you a signal. If they make 4 hardened solos, they're saying, I dare you to kill these guys.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're like, we want bullets.
Yeah.
We want lots of bullets.
Give them rockets.
Like lead. Hot lead. What is the we'll say the there was a Teenagers from Outer Space, a thing we put out a couple of months back about fishing rules for Teenagers from Outer Space. You just slip those in there with those potential golf rules. Which, by the way, the golf rules are roll athletics. Pistols are for putting. You take all the different meters thing and you change meters to feet. Pistols are putting. Shotgun is putting. Pistols are the medium iron, and then driving is at sniper rifle sort of territories. But you remember, you're taking the meters, you're changing it to feet, so it makes everything shorter, which kind of makes sense. And then you roll probably athletics on the table.
Absolutely.
Pitching the grenade table. Use the grenade table for your pitching onto the green.
Like that. Use the grenade launcher for the. I don't think a sand trap would. I would say if you're doing a sand trap, you take a -2 from the thing, and that's just, and you're using your own thing, and then you're duplicating the putter table. Except you get the -2 because it's a sand trap.
Yeah.
I think a water feature. No. Rough is going to give -4. Semi-rough is -2.
Is anybody writing this down?
They'll take a clip.
We'll VOD the video. We got it. Yeah.
Golf. Done.
Make sure also to take account of wind.
Yeah, but if like
that's one of those that's a -1. Bad
if
wind.
you had like good performance at golf, like would then bonus your rolls for like negotiation with the Japanese executive who's coming around.
You might not want to beat the Zaibatsu.
That's right.
A member that you're negotiating with at golf. You don't want to do that. You might be like, no, I want to intentionally flop this one so that that he hits par and I don't.
I use luck to reduce my roll.
That's a funny concept. Yeah, like take points out to add to your luck. You like be unlucky in some situations so you can be luckier in others. Like take points out or put them in. That's a fun concept.
In the middle of the golf game, in the middle of the holes, in the middle of the hole, full golf cart comes up. They try to assassinate the guy you're having a meeting with.
Hell yeah!
Oh,
done.
And suddenly it's like, oh, I thought we were having fun. Oh no, I thought this was a comedy section.
I love that.
It's never a comedy section.
Love it.
Well, hey everybody! I think we wrapped this up. GM Reservoir Panda is going to be streaming his live gameplay in about 11 minutes or so, 10 minutes or so. So I'd like to, kind of wrap this up and give him time to do setup and let everybody kind of take a break before they come back to watch his thing. If anybody in chat is planning on tuning into some of the gameplay, I have no idea why my camera just went blurry. That's really odd. But yeah, we'll deal with it. Let's go around the table and take a moment, just once again, to let everybody know who you are and where they can find you or what you got going on, that sort of thing. James, if you want to start it off, that'd be awesome.
Hi. It's been cool hanging out with y'all. James Hutt. I'm a writer, designer at Talsorian Games, working on Cyberpunk and Witcher. I want you to go to rtalsoriangames.com. That free DLC section, downloads, free DLC. Enjoy.
I'm going to put those links in the description.
That's what I want.
Oh, yeah.
I want you to do.
I'm going to put those links in the description too. So anybody watching the VOD, go check that out. What was that? What did you just say?
That's just for chat. It's for everybody. Not you three have to do it as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've downloaded. Yeah, anytime that you guys have put something out, I download it. I've got my my folder here on my computer.
Well, I believe it. I believe it.
I'm obsessed. You don't need to.
You got a hall pass. You got a hall pass. I don't know about these two. Need to be reminded.
Brandon.
All right.
Yes, I'm Brandon Perkins, also known as DM_Brando. And as I talked about tonight, I'm going to be starting something very soon called The Endless Voyage. And I'm a writer, I'm a voice actor, and I'm always open to voice acting work. So feel free to look for me on the socials and get in touch with me with DMs and whatnot. And thanks a lot for watching as well. This has been awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Hell yeah. Thanks for joining us, man. We have a lot of fun playing together, me, you, and Phil and stuff. And when we were talking, we needed another GM. I was excited that you jumped on board and, just love hanging out with you, man. It's a lot of fun. Same with you, James, obviously. But I'm Rob Mulligan. I'm the founder of Cyberpunk Uncensored. You can check that out, cyberpunkuncensored.com or Cyberpunk Uncensored on Twitch or YouTube. So much shit going on. I don't even want to rename it all again. Just go check that out. Show me some love and support. I'd really appreciate that. And again, we got some live gameplay coming up in just a few moments when we end this stream. So everybody watching, please hang out. Show GM Reservoir Panda some love. That would be really cool. Phil?
Yeah, I am Phil Harker-Smith. I am from Baby Beard Media, based down here in Adelaide. We're a team of content creators focusing on RPG stuff. So we have our flagship podcast that is Roll to Cast, spelled ROLE, with a different game every season, rotating storytellers, original music, SFX. It's the whole kit and caboodle. We've just wrapped up season 4, so there's 4 bingeable seasons already of Cyberpunk 2020. Vampire, Cyberpunk Red. We just wrapped up Pulp Cthulhu, and we're about to kick off our Kids on Bike season. There's many more games to come. We're always prepping those. Hit up our YouTube channel for us playing RPGs and all sorts of other games as well. We're just getting into New Vegas right now, and we're trying to grow that channel. So, if you want anything RPG related, just follow at Baby Beard Media. Find us on the socials and see what we're up to. I'm also, if you're in Adelaide, which I know one person is in chat, come see me at AvCon. I'll be doing that on the 4th and 5th, and I'll be running some Cyberpunk Red, and I'll be running some Mouse Guard as well. And I'm going to power up those games with a bit of Sirenscape too.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Yeah, and shout out to chat. All of us want to thank all of you who have been tuning in. We really appreciate chat. You guys just asking questions, contributing ideas, showing support, sharing the channel, all that good stuff. Really, you make these episodes so much better. Just contributing and being part of it. So just thanks to chat and everybody that is part of this that isn't necessarily on the screen. I just want to give a shout out. We do see you and we appreciate you. That being said, that's it. We're going to do the GM Roundtable monthly. It used to be on the second Saturday of every month, but with current filmmaking plans and things I have going on, I think we're going to keep this kind of a floating date. And I'll just work with you, Phil, on picking dates. We'll scoop up some GMs and we'll make the announcement. So anybody watching, just make sure you subscribe and follow the Cyberpunk Uncensored channels. And definitely join the Discord. We post there a lot about our events. I've got the event calendar there. But just keep your eyes open and ears to the ground for all the great streams and events that we have coming up, and join us. We'd love that. That being said, thanks so much to all of you for joining us as always, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Cyberpunk Uncensored.